Measure. Okay, that's not really transient modulation. Okay, I've got all kinds of examples. This is the booklet that is the 2-hour workshop I gave, and I am just touching on salient points for this 1-hour workshop. They need to know that the progression has absolutely nothing to do
And then
with
eighth notes, and then 2 groups. And so it alternates all the way through. And that's kind of the structure of it. And I thought, oh, keep that going. And then the saxophone just improvises over it. So that was my idea. So that stimulated me. And so I search for something like that in students to, create something.
Start this lecture, this short lecture, and I'm very happy to be here and to be able to meet composers from all over the world. So actually I wrote my notebook and for a presentation, but I found out that there's no such things, but no problem, you have handouts. This is an introduction to the bell harmony, and I assume that nobody has ever heard that, right? There's no problem if you have heard it, because I once, maybe 10 years ago, I had a lecture on this at Agnes Scott College. Once upon a time, in one of ancient Korean dynasty, Shilla, there was a king whose name was Count Dog, who ordered to make the biggest bell in his country, so that its sound would reach very far. The famous bell makers made a bell as the king ordered, but oddly enough, it didn't sound as it was hit. Then a Buddhist monk had a dream in which Buddha commanded that a baby should be sacrificed and put into the cast with molten metal. It's a cruel story. To produce a decent bell. A poor woman, having nothing to give to the monk, after hearing that dream, gave her daughter to be sacrificed. Finally, a bell was made, and as it was hit for the first time, it sounded like Emile, which resembles mother's call to her daughter, or vice versa. Hence, the bell was named Emile Bell, and it is a legend that is a very well-known legend in Korea, though it's very cruel. Several years ago, Korean scientists examined the exact ingredients of this bell, and fortunately enough, there was no such thing like human DNA or human body remnants in that bell. How lucky we are. Which shows that the story was just fiction. And nevertheless, this legend symbolically shows that people have some mysterious impression of bell. And the reason why is not because of the shape of a bell, but because of the sound of bells. And I know that there are many such stories regarding bell sound in many countries. It is therefore no wonder that many composers have incorporated bell sounds in their work, even try to imitate the bell sound with other instruments. And there was one composer who was almost obsessed by the bell harmony, studied thoroughly, calculated, and measured various bell sounds, and finally published a dissertation on that. He is Austrian composer, as well as acoustic scientist who majored composition and mathematics. His name is Dr. Kurt Anton Whoever, and he's not me. So I wanted to show his picture, but no problem, because if you go online, so the next page, second page, the bottom second page, you have a very important resource for this particular sound. Then you might listen many music. and I would just I wanted to play some music, but it didn't work. But I can play with through my notebook computer, so no problem. But I want you to visit this website. It will give you many resources. And one spring day in 1989 in Vienna, I was smitten by the newness and huge importance of this harmonic word in the acoustic class taught by Dr. Whoever, who was the founder of this attractive harmonic system. At that time, I was struggling to figure out my own musical language, as you did, trying virtually every possible style, from church mode to dodecaphony, even electronic music. My first deep concern was how to make a logical harmonic structure. 12-tone technique was a fascinating device, but unfortunately it could not answer all my questions, like how notes could be arranged vertically without thoroughly destroying the order found in the natural overtone row, which is kept almost intact in the traditional Western music. As far as I know, there was the only one natural overtone row, and that is the only occasion where I could find harmonic order created by God. Therefore, the surprise was even greater as I learned from Dr. Whoever that there are various kinds of natural overtone rows, like natural overtone row of bell, natural overtone row of string as well, and natural overtone row of metal plate, and even of a stone. And today, I want to introduce you about this wonderful sound. At first, I want to introduce you what Dr. Kurt Anton Whoever accomplished. And then I want to compare some sort of overtone rows, and I want to study the meaning of that and the possibility of that, so that you could use that too, and you could develop that this fantastic order created by God. Dr. Kurt Anton Whoever published his dissertation regarding this harmony, and the title of which is, you have on your handout, first paragraph, middle of first paragraph is written in a bold letter, not building the stroking clangers. It says, it means the study of making various sounds with tabular bells and piano. What he did was, he first measured the harmonics of bell spectrum. So you have so far studied the natural overtone row of string or air pillows, right? So it gives us a great picture of harmonics, like C and again G and C and E and again G and E flat and so on. And we knew that that was the only natural overtone row, and then from that overtone row, we derived actually a whole tonal music, and not only tonal music, but also the structure of tonal music. And in this natural overtone row, we have learned that there is a shape of triad. So when you put together 3 or 4, 5, the most powerful or loud harmonics, then you have major triad. Okay, that is well-known story. And on top of that, we could learn how the interval of perfect fifth important is, because that interval is prominent in that structure. So so far, our tonal system is based upon this particular interval, perfect fifths. So without perfect fifths, you cannot make it if you are doing tonal music. Okay, so 1, 5, 4. Where are they come from? This relation that is from this natural overtone roll. Nobody actually created that. That is already given, and we know that that is embedded in the creation by God. And later, he also published another dissertation, the new physical induction about triads. So it says how triads are introduced. But then, the next step, what he did was, then he calculated that particular overtone roll of the bell. So then he showed in his dissertation how this calculated result and measured result coincide. So we know that that is actually well studied result. And on in one other book that is published in America, that is called Music Acoustic for Musician or something. And then in that book also I could find a very similar result. And what he introduced to us was that he wanted to reproduce this bell sound on the piano. And when you see the third page, and you have actually various kinds of bell sound, bell chord. And those bell chords are the fundament of this system. Okay? This is what he actually calculated and measured. And this fascinated me because, not because I thought that, okay, I can now simulate bell sound. No, actually, the Western music history shows that there are many composers who wanted to simulate this wonderful bell sound. Why I think bell sound is attractive is that it is very transparent. So, is there anybody who doesn't like bell sound? I don't think there's. Anyway, we somehow have some yearning for that. And if you know, imagine the last scene of the Night of Bell Mountain by Mussorgsky. Okay, there the one bell sound has a more meaning than a whole bunch of orchestral sound, isn't it? It gives us a meaning of salvation sometimes. And why do you think like that? And why do you feel like that? But so far, nobody knew that. Okay, nobody knew exactly what was going on, and that was a project of Dr. Kurt Anton Fuever. And then he, at that time, he needed the biggest computer in Austria, so he had to go to that center to calculate, this complicated sound. It is really complicated because normally we are dealing with just 3 or even 4 notes. Then we can make triad and then 7th chord, and that is actually virtually everything. But he found out that in bell harmony you should have 6 notes, okay, 6 notes to reproduce this particular impression. And,
Can I say something?
Yeah.
As a hearing aid wearer, there is no way I can listen to a bell choir with these hearing aids in.
Oh, okay.
And the hearing aid companies do not understand this entire overtone series connection. And these will ring at different tones.
Sure.
Something will set them off. They don't stop. and
Okay,
all
okay.
kinds of bell sounds are going on,
Yeah.
and these are ringing.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from Florida, where 50% of our people are wearing these stupid things.
Oh.
And, no, truly,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the hearing aid companies are ignorant of all of this problem.
Oh.
So when it comes to bells and any kind of high-pitched orchestral sound,
Hmm.
we are in difficulty. So we have to go to these things and take our hearing aids out.
Yeah. Thank you for saying so.
Yeah.
Maybe then, if that is accepted to them, then they might figure out another maybe instrument here, so that this particular structure might be then ignored, right? Okay, thank you. And I will read the summary of his dissertation. In the present work, the natural frequencies of flexural vibrations of a pipe bell were measured and calculated, and an investigation made of the vibrations which are of definite significance to obtain the required sound impression. It was found further that under which conditions the bell sound could be simulated by the keyboard sound. The tones of the bell chord struck on the piano corresponded closely with the stepped-up amplitude tones of the pipe bell spectrum. Finally, it was shown in which way the sound spectrum of church bells corresponds with that of pipe bells and piano bell chords. So and that was his summary of dissertation. And now he proposed 3 important bell chords, that is piano bell chords. Why piano bell chords is important is you can produce that on the piano, okay, and you can examine that. And he even give some limitations limitations of piano range, tessitura, where this bell sound is very effective with this chord. Even you play the same chord, if it is played octave lower, then it doesn't produce that impression. So it should be then taken care of also, okay, this register. Okay, then what he okay, let's look at maybe the first bell harmony. No, second bell harmony. Okay, that is marked by 1F. Do you see? Okay, that is first bell sound. That is marked as 1F. This marking system I actually developed because it is very easy for us to learn, and it gives us needed information, even though it has 6 notes. Now look at 1F. Then you have actually F minus first inversion, right? The lower three notes, and then on top of that, what you have is B major, but 6/4 chord, right? You got it? Okay. So, but that is actually my analysis. Dr. Whoever didn't regard it as that way, but I found that because there is a very strong relation to traditional triad. So I figure out this way. I mark it this way. So if you don't like that, you can make your own, no problem. So, but then 1F means that is first type. This first type looks like exactly like this. So you should have first inversion of minor chord, okay, and then the upper chord, and then the highest note of this 6th chord should have augmented fourth interval between the lowest note of the upper chord. Okay, that is now here 6/4 chord of B. Okay, and this exact structure he actually proposed as type 1. So I follow his nomenclature. and that is the second alphabet. This F then shows where this pitch is, where is root note is. Okay, then look at the second type. That is this time what you see is 2C. Okay, and we have then C minor chord, first inversion, okay, as we expect. And then on top of that, what we have is, instead of 6/4 chord, but there is augmented chord, okay? But this augmented fourth interval between upper triad and lower triad is kept, okay? So therefore, those intervals are very important. So look at, again, this first time, 1F. Then you have, first, you have major sixth, okay? This major sixth interval is very important to produce this effect of bell. And then what you have is, the next interval is perfect fifths, okay? Perfect fifths. Then this perfect fifths gives a great possibility to relate to tonal music. And then what you have is augmented fourths, right? Augmented fourths. So this interval is very peculiar. So augmented fourths interval is regarded as devil in music, right? Traditionally. And so from the perspective of traditional harmony, augmented fourths is very kind of weird interval. But in this bell harmony, you should have that. You should have that, okay? And then look at type 3, that is bottom, okay? Type 3C, look at this. Then you know that there is no augmented force between two triads, okay? And this particular type is therefore very fragile. So that is somehow effective on a very high tessitura, but as it goes down, it loses its peculiar impression. And then those three chords are what I've learned from Dr. Product and whoever more than 20 years ago. And then I happened to find the regularity between those three chords. So I can explain a lot. So then I somehow figure out, according to this regularity, I found I made actually this zero-type bell chord. Okay, that's what you see 0. Okay, that's why it is called type 0. Okay, so type 1, 2, 3, 4 was already there, and then afterward I could figure out one more bell chord. And then I had a discussion with Dr. Whoever, that he was actually my teacher. And so therefore, and then he was very interested in that, and then we had some experiment, and then, you know, it is actually, he thought that is possible, because according to the character of the bell, and the shape of bell, and the physical characteristics of bell, you might have a different overtone rows. Okay, that means you might have also another form of this kind of chord. And even he said that there are, as I said earlier, there are natural overtone row of stones. But that is very hard to listen and very hard to figure out. And we don't know whether that is musical, whether it has musical value. Okay, we need to find whether it has a artistic value, musical value. Then we can accept that and we can develop it. So why this sound was very attractive to me was, first of all, it was beautiful to me, and somehow it has a hidden order or higher order. okay, that is embedded in that structure.
Dr. Kim,
Okay.
you have to excuse me a moment. I want to go back to the very first chord on this page.
Okay, good.
What is the fundamental tone in that chord?
Yeah, it's a good question. This fundamental tone, that is E flat. Because when you play this, and then this E flat minor chord will stick out, okay? E flat minor chord. So you have the lower three notes make actually E flat minor, right? First inversion.
Wait. Which E flat? Can you draw on the board which E flat is the fundamental
Oh, okay.
of just that one chord? I'm trying to figure out what is the first measure.
Okay.
So we're looking at 0, E flat.
Okay, here you have E flat, right? Or then you should have G flat here.
Okay, why are you going down? Doesn't the overtone series rise above the fundamental?
Yeah, that is a great question. I will explain. So, normally, there is a big difference between natural overtone roll. So, overtone, I will dub it this way. Overtone roll of string and overtone roll of bell. Okay. The fundamental difference is this. So, normally, when you have this is actually amplitude frequency table. And if you play a violin or any string instrument, then it shows this kind of, graph. That means amplitude is here very high for the first harmonics, right? And then second, then is reduced, and the third is reduced, and then you don't hear any here, right? That is normal way it behaves, okay? Good. But in here, an overtone roll or bell humming acts quite differently. So it behaves like this. Okay? So here, let's see, first and second harmonics you don't hear. It's very quiet. And then now you have about 6 most prominent harmonics, okay? And those harmonics are responsible for making this peculiar bell humming impression, okay? And here, what you have here is when you hit E flat bell, then what you have here is actually G flat. And the second one is E flat.
So those are the first audible overtones if you hit a G
Yeah,
flat bell.
or first prominent overtones. So therefore,
Okay,
you
but
might.
Are they above? Are they above the E flat which is being struck?
No. Here is actually no. This is frequency. So this is lower than E flat.
Right, but on the board you wrote
Yeah.
the G flat below the E. That's okay. So what did you actually? What is the actual fundamental of the bell being hit? That's what I don't understand.
Oh,
Is there a fundamental of a bell?
so therefore, what we hear as fundamental is E flat. What we hear, because those notes are almost inaudible. Okay.
So the bell almost doesn't have a fundamental.
No, this is regarded as fundamental. So when you listen to a bell sound and you think that is E flat, that is exactly this note and not first or second overtone. You got it?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. And then here, third is B flat actually. And those 6 notes. So all you need is those 6 harmonics, okay, to produce bell sound. Okay, and the fourth one here in this type here some variation. Okay, but type 0, for example, it has then E natural, and then A natural, and then D natural. Okay, those 6 notes. If you have a piano here, then maybe tonight in a concert, my wife will be playing one of this music, and then you will when you close your eyes, then you will have a bell in before your eyes. Okay? But as I said, my goal is not to reproduce bell sound on piano. It was done by Dr. Whoever, and I think that is maybe 99% true. That he adjusted even micro intervals. And in Western history, there are many composers who wanted to simulate this bell sound. And one interesting example is done by Mozart. And as you might know, this dissonant quartet, the beginning of dissonant quartet. Now, it has, in one measure, it has those needed, sounds with one variation. And anyway.
But Dr. Kim, he didn't know that.
Sure. No, absolutely right. He didn't know that, and he didn't mean it, I think, okay? But that is just a coincidence.
Okay.
Yeah. But then next, afterward, many composers even dub, bell or, and he, Messiaen, for example, dubbed his one chord as a bell chord. Okay, so and as I said, why many composers wanted to simulate this bell sound is because bell sound has a very mysterious effect, and what Dr. Whoever actually showed and calculated was actually the exact relation between those 6 tones, then so that you could also use those kind of things, okay? And then my point is this. In Western history, so many composers like Bartók or even Liszt or even, many composers somehow wanted to simulate. And one of those is a Japanese composer whose name is Toshiro Mayuzumi, and his symphony, you might check it, Toshiro Mayuzumi, and he dubbed his second symphony, the first movement of his second symphony as campanology. And campanology, what does that mean? Campanology means actually maybe the study of bell, campanology. And he had actually campanology 1, campanology 2, or campanology 3. So I didn't, make a copy, but I could find some similarity to this structure, but no one could actually solve this equation, but Dr. Whoever. And then what I wanted to do was, how could we use this peculiar sound for our artistic project, for our music, for our artistry? Okay, that was my concern. And then let's look at, this third page again. Then what I did was, maybe I thought that I could use this chord as a melody. Okay, so once Schoenberg said that all the melody in tonal music should be somehow derived from the chord, right?
One last question before we move on.
Okay.
I think I understand where you're deriving your notes, but back to the first measure. Why is that low? Where does that low G natural come from in the bass clef?
Oh, low G natural?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, bass clef. That's a great question. So actually, this shows very weak, very weak harmonics. Okay,
So that's
below, below
It's also
G
set
flat.
off. It's also set off.
Yeah,
It's vibrating.
yeah, sure. but you don't hear that.
But it's below the fundamental.
I don't say fundamental because that is that could be regarded as then maybe first harmonics, I think, but it's almost ignorable. You can hear that. Okay, so therefore I wrote it as smaller. Okay, so what you need actually those 6 notes. Yeah. Okay.
So just one more time, when you hit a bell, there is a main tone, but we're not going to call it the fundamental. But setting off harmonics both above and below it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have here also harmonics, and we have here also many harmonics, right? But those are ignorable. Yeah.
Sorry?
You don't recognize what you hear.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
realized that there were harmonics below, vibrating below. I know that was. So
Yeah.
I was thought that the harmonics were above.
No. There are all the harmonics, but problem is those 6 harmonics are prominent. Okay, their amplitude is. So if you compare with natural harmonics, then you hear just maybe first with second, third, then you ignore those things, right? Likewise, okay, there is a big difference.
And one last thing, could you copy that equation, 0 E flat equals E flat plus A4, and just, could you write that on the board? And just write down
Yeah.
underneath it what each letter or number
Good.
stands for?
Thank you. And this is actually type 0, and then these 3 make that this E flat, right? And then those 3.
So what does the 0 stand for? What is that the symbol for?
I explain once again. Thank you. Type 1, 2, 3 are taught by Dr. whoever. Okay, and then I found a regularity between them, and then I proposed this one. Therefore, it's 0.
Yours is 0.
Yeah. Okay. And this is one just slight difference. Okay. Type 1 is everything is same, but only the highest note, that is instead of D natural, C sharp. Then that is type 1 and is type 1 E flat. So if you have this, then you mark it this correctly. Okay. And but now one slight change, and then this gives us then 0 type. So that is marked by
And by type you mean-
proposed by me.
And by type you mean the type of overtone series is different? Is that what you mean?
Sure. Yeah. That's perfectly right. So here, for example, type 1. If it is type 1 bell, then it should have, instead of this D flat, C sharp, right? And then if it is type 2 bell, then it has those are similar, the same, but it has if it's type 2, then E flat, then okay, the G sharp, you should have G sharp and then C. So that those upper 3 notes may then augmented.
Got it. Last question. Plus, when you have plus capital A4, that
Yeah.
symbolizes what?
This is actually A major, but suspension, 4 suspension.
What does that mean for suspension?
Okay.
4/3 suspension?
Right, 4 suspension is not resolved. Okay.
So it's an A major chord.
Yeah. So, okay. If it is suspension, then it should resolve this way, right? Down. Okay. So you should have E, A, and A sharp as a C sharp. Then you have A major triad, right? But instead, it looks like it has a suspension, but it didn't resolve, right? So for the convenience, I dub it this way. Okay.
Thank you.
I think everyone could understand. So now that we have this order that is from embedded in the bell sound, and that is so we think that there is actually gift of nature, okay, and I think that is made by God. Okay, so then we could use this given order, okay, whatever we want. So my first attempt was actually how could I use this as a melody line, as if, so think of this, you have in your natural overtone roll C and okay, C and then G and C and E, right? So those are natural overtone roll string. Then you can put it as a melody, right? So likewise, so what I did was not a big thing. I used it as a melody, and it is shown here. And then you have E flat, D, E natural, and B flat, A, and G flat. Okay? But you can make other melody, okay, as you like. And then the next thing I did was inversion. So Spiegel form, that means interval would be then inverse. Okay? So this Spiegel form inversion, mirror form, was my second idea. So actually, my first idea was, how can I vary? How can I vary this order actually, this structure? So as I told you, my intention is not to reproduce this bell sound, but then how to use it. Then as if this particular chord is a theme, okay? You have this chord as a theme, then what will you do? Okay, you can make as many variations, right? Okay? So there are compressed bell sound and diluted and also becoming bell sound. So there are many possibilities. And I could, if you go this website, the bottom of the second page, then you can have many examples. And look at the bottom of page 3. Then you have one F, and with capital letter, right? So one F. What is the difference between one then small lowercase f?
Range.
No, it's not about range.
Major and minor?
Thank you. So there is one possibility of variation. So originally it is always minor triad. Okay? So if you examine that, this minor triad with first inversion gives already a trait of bell sound. But then, if I change this, then this picture will be somehow varied, and this name will be also different. Okay, like this. This is a small step. Every composer could figure out. And then, yeah. So I don't want to stay there too long, and you move to the next page. Then there is fourth page, and there is my short opera using this bell harmony. And then look at the second line, the last measure. And what you have is actually just A minor, and then E flat. Okay. Then what you have is E flat major and E flat minor is what.
What is the name of this opera?
Oh, this opera is a Reformation.
The
Yeah.
Reformation?
Yeah. So.
And when did you compose it?
It was last year. There is actually that consists of first prelude and first act. I brought some actually CDs for financial reason I couldn't make with to make record with a real orchestra, so I used computer orchestration. But somehow, it worked, and it is regarding Martin Luther's life. So it is not that long; it's just 30 minutes. But here, what you see is actually the one page, and this dialogue between Luther and Staupitz, his mentor. And through this dialogue, we know more about what was happening at that time.
What scene is this?
There is only one scene.
One scene.
This is actually what happened at the Wittenberg in 1513. Okay, and Luther was frustrated because all of his effort looked just failing, to make sure that his sin was forgiven, but unfortunately he couldn't make sure. But then through the dialogue between Staupitz and also through the Bible, the Romans chapter 1:17, then he realized that God, he needs actually faith, only faith, and that is what God recognized as the righteousness. Okay, then here, look at where J is written. Then you have here A minor, and then here, sorry, there is actually a flat is forgotten. So you have the next chord is E flat minor actually. Okay. Then you have A minor and E flat minor. How can we connect those two remote chords in a traditional harmony? It's very hard, okay, to relate those chords. But in bell harmony, it's easy because this A minor, we can put this way. A minor would be a variation of A major, okay? Then what we have is actually E flat, type 1 E flat, okay? Type 1 E flat that makes those chords. So this is one of variation in that those 6 notes are not played simultaneously, but 3 after, so one triad after another. Okay? In that way, you can make a variation. So I even thought of possibility of overarching principle, which could somehow connect tonal music and atonal music. In atonal music, I'm personally kind of sorry that the structure, the vertical structure, and the order created by God is somehow destroyed. But in this bell chord, it looks like very complicated, but it has a higher order. And whoever said that classified it as a fifth class. So first class of order, that is actually order of string or air pillow. That is what we have known so far. So first order actually prevails up to now. So our Western tonal music was based upon this first order. So that is overtone row of string and air pillow. But then this row, he dubbed it as order, the fifth order. Okay, there are in between order of metal, plate, or staff. So many different actually orders. Okay, he found it. I think that is fascinating, and I think that will be very fascinating to you because we somehow we wanted to make order, right? So of your own, right? Somehow we want to create first order, vertical order, and then, okay,
I think they finished.
yeah, okay. So therefore, for me, it gave me a great, somehow, enormous possibility. Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, this is heavy stuff, Dr. Kim, so, bear with me. I'm going back to E minor and A minor.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah, E flat minor and A minor.
Good.
And are you using the 0 E flat?
Oh, actually, time one E flat. So that here we have actually A major, right?
Well, that's my question. Where
Yeah.
did C sharp come from? Because under 0 E flat, there's no C sharp, correct?
Under type 1, there is no C sharp, right?
Right.
Oh, no. Under type 1, there is C sharp, but what we have, there is no C sharp. That is your question, right? So there is actually one.
Which type are you getting? Are you getting the juxtaposition of E flat minor and A minor? Which type of ordinals are you
Actually, there
using?
is type 1.
Using type 1.
Type 1 with variation. Okay?
Okay, but wait a minute.
One-
What are you varying, and how are you justifying a variation if this is a scientifically, acoustically based method?
Okay, that is a great question. Look at this. We have, for example, we have this natural overtone row. We always actually vary those things, okay? To make a minor triad, okay? In natural overtone row string, there is actually a major triad. Okay? That is original type, but we always change that, okay? Semitone, or we somehow add notes, right? That is what composers are doing, or are supposed to do. And so, now that we have this original time and order, then you can change it, okay? But you need to have some reason why, okay?
So what is your reason? What was the reason?
Look at this. Again, bottom of page 3, you have 1 and then capital F, right? That is my first variation, okay? So I change it, instead of A flat on the bottom, okay? A natural, good? That is first variation.
Wait, when you make a variation, do you notate it or not? Because
Yeah, it is notated here, because original form was 1, then lowercase f. Because this lowercase f designates minor triad, F minor triad, okay? Then what you have here is actually capital F. That means this is actually major form, okay? So that is, I changed it, okay?
so then in all three genuine types, is it always smaller case?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
you got
so
it.
if I see a number and I see a letter and the letter is capital,
Mhm.
can I assume that's a variation?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
So are all these variations down here?
Yeah, so therefore, look at this. At the end of the second last line, you have major form. From here begins major form.
Thank you.
Okay? Good, so I think what you say is time ran out, okay? No problem. So I have some materials, I brought some materials like, this is actually the explanation of the bell harmony I used for my work, 12 holy bell sounds. In that work, I actually wanted to show how we could change and vary this fascinating chord. Okay, so maybe I could bring some notes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kim.
Yeah.
One more question?
Okay.
I noticed that many of these structures are combinations of chords, kind of a polytonal system, kind of like in the
Yeah.
Stravinsky, the Petrushka chord, the C and the F sharp. Is that a structural thing of the metal of the bells? One thing I noticed with my toy piano, if I take the tone of that toy piano and slow it down a lot, it sounds just like a bell. And it's they're metal bars. So is there a structural characteristic of the metal that creates these combinations of chords?
Yeah. So what fascinated me was even though this bell sound is actually metallic, though it sounds warm and transparent. So it has two faces. And what you said was very important, remind me of what I missed. That is actually this chord, you have two possibilities how to regard these notes, this chord. First, actually, as Dr. Kurt Anton, who is the founder of this chord, this harmonic system, did, you could regard it as a chunk of 6 notes, no problem, okay? Why not, okay? But I found that in that way, you don't have any relation to tonal music, okay? If you think there is a chunk of 6 notes, then you can do atonal music, no problem. So tonight, what you will be hearing is actually in between. So I think this bell sound could be full, feeling the gap between tonal and atonal music. So, but the second way is you could regard it as I did, okay? So combination of two triads. Okay, thank you. Good point. Any other questions?
What is Dr. Huber's relationship to Gustav Helmholtz?
I don't know.
You never heard of Helmholtz?
I don't think.
I mean, he wrote a book on, I believe it's on acoustics,
Mm-hmm.
and they have nothing in common with each other.
But his emphasis, Dr. Whoever's emphasis, was solely on the bell harmony.
But it's
Yeah.
acoustics, it's natural acoustics,
Yeah, natural acoustics of the bells.
specifically bell.
Yeah, and then there are many different bells, so he had to.
Okay, but as far as you know, because as far as you know, he did not make any attempt to incorporate or to distinguish Dr. Helmholtz's theories.
Did Dr. Helmholtz also study bell harmony, or?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
My understanding was that there was one acoustical science and I thought there was only one overtone series, frankly. But
It was a great blessing to me that I could meet Dr. Whoever, who was actually founder of this. Unfortunately, I'm the second generation, but I couldn't find third generation so far. So I want to encourage you to use this and even actually I published a book, a theory book regarding this bell harmony, and then it was financially funded by Austrian government. But it is written in Korean, and then some small important parts are written in English and in German. But unfortunately, if I have time, then I want to publish in English version. Okay.